Jonathan, can I read you a passage? This has nothing to do with Frederick Douglass.
Please, yeah.
All joking aside, I'm so goddamn horny. All I do all day is think about sex. All fucking day. Like I'm reading this Sarah Orne Jewett book. I guess that was an author we read. And I'm trying to pay attention, but then I just think about sex. This whole Nelp thing is being a real block. I'm so sorry. This is dirty.
Welcome to Shoulda Books, the podcast about all the books you should have read by now. My name is Jonathan, and today I am talking to the one and only Jonny Cakes. Jonny Cakes, aka Johnny Manganiello, is a hyper-realistic cake maker. He's one of the best in the game, honestly. He's been on Netflix's Is It Cake? He's been on the Food Network. He's been on probably your TikTok For You page. He is everywhere making cakes that don't look like cakes. He is truly incredible at what he does, but he's also an amazing performer. He's so funny. I mean, if you've seen him in something, you know that, like, yeah, he's good at the cakes and all that stuff, but he really shines at making you laugh. And he did that today quite a bit. He has this amazing quality where he will end up sharing more than you think anyone is ever going to share. And he takes it just a little bit further. And he does that in this episode, which we're going to get to right after a tiny bit of housekeeping. I want to say a huge thank you, as always, to the Shoulda Books patrons over on the Patreon. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for supporting the show. And if you want to support the show, and if you want bonus content, if you want the ad-free extended version of episodes, today's episode in particular, the ad-free extended version has some goodies that you're not going to want to miss. We reference that a little bit in the public episode. You'll hear about it. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who took pictures of the billboard that was in Times Square. That was a big deal. That was a big deal for me. And the fact that so many of you took photos and videos and sent them to me, it really means a lot, and it's a milestone, you know. Like to see Shoulda Books up in lights. Yeah, I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's a big deal. Thank you so much for allowing me to see that through your eyes and your lenses. If you want to follow along with the Shoulda Book Club, you can do that over on Fable. This month, March, we are reading S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders. See, I got a copy. I the past 3 episodes, I was like, I need to get a copy. I finally did over at Stories in Los Angeles. Shout out to them. If you need or want a copy of The Outsiders or any book, any of the books that we discussed today, there will be links. There currently are links in the description, show notes, whatever that thing's called. There are links to all the books that we talk about, including The Outsiders. And these are links to bookshop.org. Bookshop.org is an organization that supports local bookstores. So if you buy a book through bookshop.org, you are supporting local bookstores. And if you use the links in the description, you're supporting me because I get a little commission out of that. So, because they're affiliate links, but, and we love them. So that is all the housekeeping for today. Let's get into my unhinged conversation with Mr. Cakes. Let's hit the books. First of all, do you want me to call you Jonny Cakes or Johnny Manganiello?
Oh, I don't care. Both.
Okay. Johnny.
Either.
Okay. Johnny Cakes Manganiello.
Yeah.
Let's hyphenate.
It's hyphenated. Please.
Welcome to Shoulda Books. How you doing?
I'm so good. I'm happy to be here, and it's different than last time I was here.
Yes.
Yeah, new place.
A new place.
New podcast, really.
New podcast. Yeah, everything is new format.
I didn't have to read a book.
You didn't have to read a book.
You know what I did? I reread.
You reread a book?
Yeah.
Okay. What sort of
reading? If I reread,
okay.
I listened to the audiobook.
That counts? I
just don't think it does.
Really?
No. As somebody who's not like an avid reader, I will tell you, no. You read a million books, so like one audiobook every now and then, no big deal. But no, I don't think it counts.
It's honestly, it's more like 60-40 now. Like I listen to a lot more audiobooks.
You read so much.
Well, I mean,
That's like if I
my
every
job
now and then use
Yeah.
cake mix. It's like I just needed to get this cake done, and it's for the internet.
Okay,
I can use cake mix.
Yeah. And you do that, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Well, listen, if no one is going to eat it but me and it's this small of a cake,
Okay, yeah.
I'm not against being like,
Wow.
Betty,
Mhm.
come help me. Pillsbury, come on in here. Duncan, need some backup.
Well, thank you for coming back to Shoulda Books. You were
Thank
on
you.
here
Yes.
in the kind of previous iteration of Shoulda Books when you read Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
You were in the previous iteration of My House where you almost died.
I almost died.
And if you want to hear that story, you can check out the ad-free extended version of this episode on Patreon, patreon.com/Shoulda Books.
It's a nail biter.
It's a nail biter, but you survived. Spoiler alert. And your face has never looked better.
Thank you so much.
Which was in doubt for a second.
I was worried.
It was,
and
yeah.
you'll know what
And
we're
you'll
talking
know.
about if you're a
And you'll
Patreon
know.
member.
But what we're talking about right now is freaking books.
Yeah.
So what is your kind of reading life like? What are you reading these days?
So I'm going to be honest. I'm one of these people who, when I go on a vacation, or if I'm doing like, we're in Southern California, very lucky. We have a lot of like places nearby that are like fun to go for a weekend.
Sure.
If I'm doing that, I will be phoneless, nose in a book, morning, noon, and night.
Hell yeah. Okay.
In my day-to-day life,
yeah,
it's rarer.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to read more. But like, I read several books a year, but I don't read several books a month.
Yeah, I mean, before this podcast, I did not either. I mean, now I'm like, the numbers I'm putting up now, I'm like, wow, it's crazy how much I'm reading. And it's like, well, you kind of have to. But it's tough to find the time.
But the thing is, like, actually, sorry, not to be like argumentative. Actually, no, it isn't. Do you know how much time I spend doing jack shit? Sorry, nothing. Do you know how much time I spend doing nothing?
You can swear. This is a cool podcast.
No, I can't. Just my religion doesn't allow it. Can you imagine if I was like really like
this is a where you
up.
Wow.
No, I actually could. Like,
okay,
I'll give you an example. I was playing Woody Puzzle. Do you ever play Woody Puzzle?
What is Woody Puzzle?
It's a game on my iPhone
that
has destroyed my life. I'll go like 30 minutes playing this puzzle game and be like,
what kind of puzzle is it?
It's like Tetris.
Okay.
It's like Tetris.
It's gentrified Tetris.
Exactly. Yeah. It's gentrified Tetris. And it is boring, but it's addicting. So basically what I'm saying is like, did I need to play Woody Puzzle this morning? Steven and I are watching Survivor. And I'm rewatching all these seasons. Because he's never seen it.
Okay. Is he enjoying it?
Loves it. Do I need to rewatch seasons of Survivor I've seen like 10 times? No. I could read.
You know?
No, like I could.
You could. I won't debate you on that. But I also just think I think that something that as I've like, built this podcast is just realizing how much like strangely like shame I have felt about the level that I've read.
Okay.
And it's just something that I'm just like, you know what? Who gives a shit? If you read, great.
Don't have shame. Have shame. But like also, I think I'm in this like, right now I'm feeling very like, oh, I can be a little bit harsher to me. Not mean, but like stricter.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to like have, to figure out what your own level, like what's a good level of discipline for yourself. And finding balance, and so that's certainly what I'm trying to build right now is like finding like, last month was, the Jane Eyre, episode, Bronte month. And I finished the book like the day before I recorded the episode. And I was so stressed. Yeah. And I was like, I need to build a system where that doesn't happen because that sucked. But all this to say that, what is all this to say? All this is to say is however much you read, good on you.
Sure.
Sure. Johnny doesn't believe me.
No, but I don't not believe you. I'm just like, okay. Also, I'm not in school. I don't have to finish a book.
That's right. You're an adult.
I can just stop it. Mm-hmm. You can't because you have this. You couldn't stop reading Jane Eyre.
I could fake it.
Yeah.
But I won't.
But you won't. I was reading a book. I don't want to call the woman out because she seems like a lovely author. Not that she's watching, but maybe she is. I was reading it. A friend recommended it. It was one of these, like, we were on a trip. I was like, I'm going to read. I got 75% of the way done. And I was like, I can't read another page
You
of this
bailed
book.
at 75%?
Because I the whole time I was like, just get through it. It's
Really?
and then I was on an airplane reading it, and I was like, I don't have to do this. And it was a weird feeling because, like, in school, you do.
Right.
Well, you don't have
there's
to.
Consequences
but, like,
if
there's
you don't.
consequences.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I can just stop.
Yep.
And I did.
Yeah.
And I just stopped, and I am so happy I did.
Yeah.
I don't know who did the bad thing. I don't know who was cheating on who. The mystery is still. It was like sort of like
that doesn't bother you?
No.
You haven't like gone and looked up the Wikipedia summary?
That's how much I hated the book.
Jeez.
I shan't finish this book.
Oh my God.
Yeah. it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
You know what? And that's okay. I've
me.
gotten way better, if this is something you get better at, but I've gotten a lot more comfortable with not finishing books.
Good.
Like I started this book. I talked about it a little bit on a previous episode. This book that was about the like independent film scene in the 90s. It's called Down and Dirty Pictures. I called it Down and Dirty Films in the episode, which was wrong. But Down and Dirty Pictures, and it's about the Sundance Film Festival in the 90s, and it's also about the Weinstein Company.
Oh.
So it's about Harvey Weinstein. Okay. It was written in 2008, so pre-Me Too. And I stopped because it was just instance after instance of being like, Harvey Weinstein did this awful thing and he got away with it. And it was just like, I was like, I don't need.
They were writing that in 2008?
Yeah. Oh, it's yeah. It's fun.
People are wild, man.
Man, you know what? People are wild. Books are wild.
Books are wild.
And you brought, what a dumb segue. You brought 3 books you think everyone should read. Let's get into them.
Yeah, okay.
Well, first of all, you didn't bring.
You know what, Jonathan? Listen.
And it's okay.
And this actually is kind of giving me in school. Like, I left my homework.
The dog ate your homework.
No, like actually. My dog current dog, my like new dog is like really into eating paper.
Is he really?
I was like, damn, I wish I had him when I was in school. Because now if he eats something, I'm like, no, I wanted that.
Right.
But in school,
yeah, okay.
He could have eaten my homework.
Yeah, it doesn't really work with the IRS if the dog.
I'm sorry, I didn't pay
I'm
taxes.
sorry, my dog ate my W-2.
Yeah. Do you know what I have here?
You have. It looks like a journal.
A journal.
And it looks like there's some drawings in there.
Oh, there's
perhaps?
drawings. There's some salacious drawings too.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
This is from a program I did in college.
Okay.
Called NELP, the New England Literature Program.
Okay.
It's a program that University of Michigan does, but other people can do it. You can apply if you don't go to Michigan. You go to the woods without a phone, without a computer, with no technology, no contact with the outside world.
Yeah. You
read early American literature for 6 weeks at a girls' summer camp. It's like spring, summer, right before they start the camp. It's like a little society. You cook, you clean, you build stuff, you go camping on the weekends. It's like kind of woo-woo, but I'm not a woo-woo guy. Just so you know, I don't like to be outdoors or camp.
Okay.
And I loved this. So if I liked it, it's saying something.
That sounds amazing.
And we read early American literature, and I took obviously and also a big part of NELP is you journal.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I journaled about one of the books. So I was like, let me go look through my notes, because I was like, then it would be fresh in my mind. And I did. So I brought my journal.
That's amazing. Okay. So this is your journal from...
I was going into my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which book was this?
This was for the Frederick Douglass, The Narrative of a Life.
Okay. Yes. All right. I've never read it.
Loved it at the time.
But you hate it
now. It's been
now.
years since I've read it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it holds up now.
I feel like it probably holds up.
Can you imagine if I was like 2011 grade?
You know what? I loved this when I was younger, but now because of the woke agenda, I'm not into it. Yeah.
This book changed, a switch went off in my head, and I was like, oh, yeah. So it's about, it's this memoir, and it's about him being a slave and escaping slavery and self-educating. And I was just very taken by it.
Yeah. Because
it's about basically how education is basically the antidote to like anything really, in his case, like slavery.
Right.
And how him learning to read and write and become literate freed him. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, I think especially now, like there's a dumbing down, like there's this like anti-expert thing. There's an anti-college, anti-whatever.
Yeah. Well, this podcast is famously anti.
I know.
Anti-higher education, anti-lower education.
Yeah, totally.
But for the sake of
but for the sake of the book,
this discussion,
and I was just interested in education is freedom, and I thought that was I never had thought about that before.
Yeah. Huh.
So that was a monumental book in my life.
Was this a book that was assigned, or were you able to choose which books you were going to? Okay, it was assigned. Okay.
It was assigned, and it was my favorite book I read while I was there. Mm-hmm. We also read Walden, which I was like, just fucking kill me. Like, this fact check me later, but you know Walden, Thoreau's mom came and did his laundry while he was at Walden Pond. So he was like, oh, go off on your own, be your own person, solitude. Your mom, your grown mom is doing your adult clothes.
He was the 19th century Nepo baby in that sense, I guess.
I hate it. Oh, but this book I loved. And see, we learned how to tie knots.
Oh, can you hold that up to the camera?
Yeah. We learned how to tie knots. That's incredible. I got to be careful.
Yeah. Don't dox anything. I also certainly don't show that.
Well, okay, I'm going to show you something. So I was sort of the bad boy at NELP, and I was teaching people dirty things. I planned a NELP orgy. I was the artistic director. And then someone was asking me what a chode was. Sorry if this is too inappropriate. So I did rule of chody. So a chode has to be greater than the X, has to be greater than the Y. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And this does not equal a chode.
If X and Y are equal, it doesn't. Okay.
Well, we were debating that.
Yeah, if X and Y are equal, then what is it?
Jonathan, can I read you a passage? This has nothing to do with Frederick Douglass.
Please, yeah.
Because we were writing about the books we were reading, but also about...
Okay, yeah.
All joking aside, this is after I draw the rule of chody. Okay. All joking aside, I'm so goddamn horny. All I do all day is think about sex. All fucking day. Like I'm reading this Sarah Orne Jewett book. I guess that was an author we read. And I'm trying to pay attention, but then I just think about sex. This whole NELP thing is being a real cock block. I'm so sorry. This is dirty. I want to have, and I'm sorry, Hannah and or Laura. Oh, they were my journal group, so they read our journals.
Okay.
This is going to get graphic.
This was you knew that an authority figure was going to read this? Professors. You knew that professors were going to read this. Okay.
I was very horny.
Oh my God. Unashamedly.
Yeah. So all I've been thinking about, sorry, Hannah, Laura, this is going to get graphic, lots of sex, literally sex all the time, here on a mountain, Brokeback Mountain style. If those cowboys didn't have to live a lie, and if Jake Gyllenhaal didn't die at the end, spoiler alert, then that's what I would want my life to be right now. I just want to go up on a mountain and fuck a cowboy. Maybe I'll meet a willing participant on Mount Washington. Are you kidding me?
So
that's crazy.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And we will get back to Frederick Douglass. But were you graded on this? Yep. Did you get note? Okay. Yep. Did your professors say anything about that passage in particular?
I think probably for legal purposes, they were like, let's not touch that.
Let's just pretend that we didn't see it.
I was so horny. I kind of miss those years.
Wait, so you're telling me that you went like into the woods with a bunch of other college students, no fucking?
Oh, there was a lot of fucking.
Okay.
But there were only 2 other gay guys.
I see.
And they were fucking.
Oh.
So I was like, meh, meh. And then another one came out of the closet after NELP. And he's so hot. Oh, he's so hot. But at the time, he wasn't. He definitely wasn't interested in me.
Oh, my God. Man.
Yeah, they didn't. Let me tell you something. They did not come.
They did not.
Yeah, because they left these notes. But
interesting. Okay, so all these sticky notes.
For legal reasons.
Yeah, I think that's probably...
We're going to let that 19-year-old have his moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, any educators watching, I think that's probably the best course of action. Yeah. So you, pivoting from that incredible story.
Yeah, sorry.
What did you have to say about Frederick Douglass?
I bookmarked it.
Okay,
so this was from Douglass class number 2 with Eric. Eric, oh my God, Eric is the best. He's a U of M professor. He ran NELP for many, many years.
Okay.
Salt of the earth guy. I love him. Oh, I love that man. Okay, anyway.
This is so cool that you have this document too.
And I hadn't read this in 20 years.
Really?
Wow,
okay.
Has it been 20 years
No,
since
it
2011?
can't have been.
Whatever it.
Well,
15
this is
years.
an anti-math podcast.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay.
So Eric called Douglass's narrative the quintessential Nelp text. Douglass is devoted to the project of making real the horrors of slavery. He takes his work very seriously. Language can make things real. Now, this is another thing, right? So like slavery, we know is bad.
Yes.
And documenting it is the only way that you and I in 2026 know it's bad, which sounds like an obvious concept. But it is really interesting to hear from the perspective of a slave because a lot of slaves did not read and write.
Right.
So that's why I think this book is so particularly fascinating.
Yeah.
A. B, there's a point that I really loved in this. Frederick Douglass deliberately omits his escape of slavery.
Interesting.
So you're reading this book, and I remember at the time being like, I can't wait to see how he does it. I remember at the time being like, what?
Right.
Like, that's the whole, I thought that would be the book.
Right.
Because I think we're used to like Underground Railroad and like that has
Sure,
become sort of, you know,
it's a
there's lot of
narrative
books,
that
movies.
like makes, you know, white people feel okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of just like,
Yeah.
focusing on the Underground Railroad. And it's like, yeah, there were amazing people who worked on that, but most people didn't.
I want to see if I can find this bit. Okay. Douglass chose not to detail his escape. Makes sense because how he came to decide he would escape is more important than the potentially dramatic sitting on the edge of your seat escape story / action movie.
Huh.
Yeah. I just I thought that was interesting because it really is the story about how he got to make the decision and not about the like I said, action movie. Like now I need to run.
That's so interesting because it's so counter to all of the kind of incentives and models that we have right now of just like, no, you want to lean into the most dramatic part, but that's such an interesting choice. I haven't read this text. Like, how does it read like more philosophical in nature? Is it more like concerned with like day-to-day things? Like what's kind of the balance between like showing the like day-to-day reality and the like kind of the theoretical philosophical side?
So he does both.
Okay.
It's philosophical in the sense that he pushes this narrative of education. Education equaling upward mobility.
Yeah.
And education being a gift. And that's theoretical. You also see it play out in practice, but I think my memory, it's been a long time since I've read it, but my memory is that a lot of it is theoretical. He also does like explain day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So you do hear like historical sort of anecdotes in the story as well. I will tell you, the thing I remember most is the theoretical stuff from this book, not the stories that he tells.
How did you feel about education before reading this book?
So I think why this was such a formative book to me is that education to me was about learning things so that you can use those skills practically.
Okay.
The whole like, when am I ever going to use algebra in life? And your math teacher says, well, if you're ever at the market and you need to get 10 times the recipe or whatever.
If you ever need to calculate the ratio of a chode.
If you ever need to, and that's such a good point.
Look, it comes in handy.
And it did, actually. So maybe I shouldn't be talking shit about my high school math teacher. But this switched my perspective into saying, oh, education is something that gives you power, not because you will use specific lessons you learn. In fact, you probably won't remember things you've learned, a lot of things you learned. But it grants you the power to say, oh, I know this thing is wrong, right? I know that teaches me like not to do the whole like, let's talk about 2026.
But let's talk about it.
Deliberately dumbing down Americans is a tactic I see being used.
Absolutely.
Not because I think Americans need to know certain skills or lessons or whatever that you would learn in school or whatever.
Yeah.
But because educating people gives them power.
Yeah.
It gives them power and it makes them able to do any number of things. In Frederick Douglass's case, it made him realize like, oh, this thing that we've just accepted is wrong. Or this thing that just is my life is wrong because he was able to read and he was able to, put his thoughts down on paper, which was a privilege.
It is. And it's, I think, a skill that is very much in danger of being erased right now because like, with AI, like, I am a bit of a Luddite and a curmudgeon and I, wear those labels proudly.
Yeah.
Because I do think that when you outsource skills that, are tough to learn.
Yeah.
Like writing.
Yeah.
Like, writing, composing an email, for instance. Yeah, it's a lot easier to let Google Gemini write the email for you. It is. It's easier. It's a lot easier to let, ChatGPT compose a birthday card. It's easier. But it's like once you offload that skill onto a machine, it's hard to get back. And like what you're kind of saying right now is that like you lose the ability to talk accurately about what is happening in the world.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so I really do think that like there is a danger there and it's something that I want to push against, and I think that like, with this podcast, like I want to read books that are hard to read for that reason of just like, books that are easy, breezy beach reads certainly have their place. And I love reading those at times, but like being challenged and being forced to be uncomfortable, I think is a skill and is important because like everyone in power right now, it feels is just so anti-human and is just trying to create this world where like, a few people control everything and like losing the ability to truly losing true literacy, the ability to not just read, but to interpret, to read a text and compare it in your mind to other texts and have those things kind of bounce against each other and fight against each other and form, it's thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, like losing that ability is dangerous. And so that was true in Frederick Douglass's day. It's true in our day too.
If you don't like to do, if there is a task that is like a menial task that you can ask ChatGPT to do, I'm like, fine, I guess do that.
Yeah.
What ChatGPT what AI will never replace, I believe, maybe I'll eat my words later, is like thoughtful dissection and discussion and communication about art, about history, about literature. Like it just won't do it. It doesn't do that. It's not a human. It's brain. There's no brain.
Right. There's no soul. There's no feeling.
Soul. So I don't know. Like I hear about these kids like using ChatGPT to write like their essays. I'm like, okay, so I'm not even like mad from like oh my God, that's plagiarizing. I'm mad from like, what?
Well, I think
what's the goal?
Well, first of all, like I think it's like it's dumb to blame the kids.
Yeah.
Because like they are just functioning under the incentive structure that they've been given.
Yeah.
It ties back to what you were saying about how you looked at education before reading this book, which was basically as a utilitarian means to an end. It's the point. The point of education is to gain skills so that I can then make money someday.
Yep.
And that is what so much of education has become. And so now you have these tools that make it easier to get that certification, get that piece of paper that unlocks all the jobs, or it did until 2025.
Yeah.
Education for a utilitarian end, like that is the endpoint of it, which is like, is machines replacing us? Because like, a computer's way better at math, certainly than me, and always will be, but what's not a computer's not better at is like reading a poem and feeling something and then telling another person how that made me feel. You're right. A machine can't fucking do that. And so I think that like there needs to be this shift in how we view education, how we treat education as not just a means to an end, as like an end in of itself of just like, no, this is a thing that like is good for my soul.
Yeah. And
it's good for my community. And I'm going to pursue it for that. And if, I happen to learn how to like, calculate the width and girth of a chode, then sure, like that. Look, that like,
icing on the cake.
This is just icing on the cake.
Totally. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that's a really apt analysis of where we stand right now with computers,
Yeah.
computers taking over.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm scared about it, but I think like when I hear these conversations about AI, I'm like, oh, but like AI will never be creative. So like, I'm not concerned about that. I don't have concern about that, but maybe I should. Maybe
my concern about it is that we'll lose the appetite for it. It will lose the like, you know, wanting to be creative.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a discussion for a different time. Are there any final thoughts on this book before we move on to the next one? Or are there any, other little juicy little gossipy morsels?
Oh, there's a lot of gossip in here because I was feuding with some people. Like,
boy, okay.
We were naked a lot of the time. It was a whole thing.
Okay, well, I'll bring you back. We'll have a bonus episode of just kind of reading Johnny's journals.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun for everyone.
So, what is the second book?
Okay, so the second book is we're taking a sharp left turn here.
Okay.
And this one I reread this week. And by reread, I mean I listened to the audiobook because I read it the first time and it was monumental for me. I read it in the break room at Universal Studios in between tours.
Oh my God. I forgot this is part of the lore.
Yeah, I was a tour guide.
Yep.
And I would go give my tours and then I would come back and read this book, Born Standing Up, Steve Martin's memoir.
Steve Martin, yes.
Have you read it?
I have not. No, I want to. I like Steve Martin a lot.
So you got to read it.
Okay.
This is like, sorry, I know I'm being annoying, but you in LA in the entertainment industry, I just feel like you should read it.
Yeah.
My brother had gifted it to me when I was like leaving to go to LA. And I was like, I think this will help you because it's about someone trying to become successful in Los Angeles and then ultimately becoming successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Right? He lives in Laurel Canyon for a bit. And I thought about you.
Former neighbor.
Yeah. So this is a book. This is a memoir that he actually calls a biography, not an autobiography.
Oh, interesting.
Because he's like, I'm so far removed from it. It's like I'm writing about a different person, whatever.
Okay.
I love Steve Martin. I love Steve Martin. And I know. And it's really interesting to get a glimpse into like the entertainment industry in Los Angeles in like the 60s. Because it's just so different.
Yeah.
60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize what a star he was. Like this man was massive in a way I don't think we can even contextualized today. He was selling, like he was culture. He was comedy. He was, and he doesn't say this, but a lot of people say this about him. And he kind of points to it in his book. Like comedy was one way. And then he came out and was like, oh, but I'm a little like weird. And like I do things a little differently. Sounds like a pick me, but he really was.
Yeah. I'm getting some pick me vibes.
And just how he made his own way through just doing something completely never seen before.
What was the comedy world kind of like when he entered it?
I think very like, but ching.
Very. Take my wife, please.
Truly,
that kind of shit.
And he doesn't say this is a bad. I'm kind of putting that judgment on it.
Okay,
he describes it as that, and I'm kind of like eye roll.
Yeah,
he came out and was using props, using a banjo, doing weird things that like weren't really funny to the audience. And like allowing it to not be funny.
Yeah.
And he was just weird. Like, do you know I'm a wild and crazy guy, his character from like SNL?
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. It's like he was a wild and crazy guy. Like he was kind of this force who came out on stage and was doing weird stuff. And when you go back, and last night I was watching old Steve Martin on like Johnny Carson and like other shows. Some of them, like the audience isn't really laughing at all times. So some of them aren't even that funny.
Okay.
But you can see there's like a seed of something in there, even at the beginning of his career. My biggest takeaway from the book is that we are a product of everything that we were, everything we experienced. And he talks about this quite literally in the book, like learning, like he worked at Disneyland. And like he worked at the magic shop, and then he
did magic. I remember
banjo guy, and all these things were skills he actually ended up putting in his act.
Yeah,
and that's a really interesting idea to me because I think about like we just are everything we've experienced.
Yeah,
and we are not separate from our childhood self or our teenage self or our 20s self. We are all these things, and whether or not those skills come back literally, like in Steve Martin's case, I'm going to bring magic into my act.
Yeah.
Or you just let it wash over you.
Well, it's interesting that he has that thing about calling it a biography because that seems to refute the point that he's making.
That's a good point.
Which is that it's all just one thing.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you mean of just like, I look back at the, for lack of a better term, the eras of my life. And it's very easy to just be like, oh, that's a different person. In a lot of ways, sure. Yeah, it is. But like that, all those different versions of me had to exist for the current version. And whatever this current version is won't exist in 10 years and will just be part of whoever that person is if I'm still, but yeah, I like for you, like I know that you are kind of this product of like of acting, of performing, of entertainment, but then also this love of baking.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like what are some other, what else is in the recipe of Jonny Cakes?
So
I don't know why I said it like that.
no, it was good. It was good. And also like very like poetic. Chat GPT could never.
Okay.
I say this a lot. Like, I will never be the best baker. I will never be the best hyper realistic cake maker. I will strive for that and I will work really hard at it. But there are people like, if you want the best hyper realistic cake maker, I can give you their name and it's not mine. You know what I mean? I don't really care because I'm something else. I think I'm sort of, like I said, a product of things that I've done. I do not look at my years training to be an actor and then trying and failing to be an actor as a waste of time. And in fact, I believe everything I put out there has that in it, right? Like every time I film a YouTube video, I could be, I don't know, recreating foods from Disney movies. And it's like that, what does that have to do with acting? But there is something in me that uses that performance background. And I don't mean that in a non-human way. Like I'm not like, I do think like what you see is what you get with me, but like I am performing in a sense, right? Like I know where the camera is and I know what is, how things are going to play or whatever.
Everybody's performing.
Everybody's
always performing. The only people who aren't performing are like psychopaths.
Yeah, and also,
or I guess psychopaths are the ones who are probably performing the most. But you get what I'm saying.
No, I think you're right. I think everybody is performing in a sense, which doesn't mean it's inauthentic, but just means that they're like, you're a different person on your couch than you are in front of your grandma, in front of your mom, in front of your boyfriend, whatever the case may be. So I think, God, it's so interesting. So when I first read this book, I was like, I'm trying to be an actor. I was not trying to be a stand-up comedian, but I was trying to be like a comedic actor.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, it's so nice to see how he did it, how he went from nothing to the biggest thing. I was like, oh, this could happen. I could do this. I think whether or not I knew it, like I was doing it and I am doing it. Just the path is the same maybe, but the vehicle is different. Yeah. Like I know that there were things I did before I was baking that I am very proud of and I think are great, but that nobody cared about. Or like a one-man show I did or a play I was in that nobody came to see. That was still me. Yeah. It was still what people see now. But now, because I do cake work, like more people see those things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, like sometimes I think when I describe where I am in my career now, it's like, it may seem like I'm saying like, oh, like I needed this like cake thing to like have an angle in. And in a way, I think that's true. But just on a more positive note, like I think that I have this platform and this like niche. It allows me to do the things I was doing in the play I'm really proud of, just in a different way. Right. If that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I've always, well, not always, I came to realize like the value of walking through the open doors, especially in this business of just like, because when I moved out here, I wanted to be a writer and director. Yeah. I was about as toxic a film bro as you could get who hadn't seen whatever classic movie. I just, turns out that I love movies, but I'm not like a cinephile in that way. And not that you have to be, but it certainly helps. Yeah. But I think that like you can approach these closed doors of whatever you're trying to get to, and you can bang your head against them until you like hurt yourself, you know, or you can keep walking around the thing that you're trying to get in, and you'll find a door that's open.
Yeah.
The choices that I've made has been walking through the open doors versus like slamming my head against the ones that aren't open.
I mean, that's an amazing way of putting it.
And you know, is that like cope in some ways? I don't know, maybe, but like I think of the dreams that I had when I was 22, and I'm like, one, if I'd gotten those at that time, I would have been a terrible person.
Yeah.
Like if I had gotten the movie deals, if I had gotten the movie deal that I wanted when I was 23, one, I would have fucked it up. Right. I wouldn't have done a very good job because I was not ready for that kind of responsibility. And two, like it's not even what I'd want to be doing right now, you know? And so I think that like, it's very easy, especially if you are kind of at the start of your career, to kind of have this idea of where you want it to go and to kind of Captain Ahab your way towards it of just like, no, I'm going to be X and I'm only going to be X on these terms, and everything else I'm going to be, you know, put blinders on and ignore everything else. And it's like, I don't know, maybe you'll get there. I feel like probably not, but I think it's a much like healthier path to kind of have a general goal in mind, but be open to the doors that open along the way, because you're also going to change, you know? And it's like, if you still have the same dreams at 35 that you did when you were 19, like, I don't know too many people who have that.
No. And also like, that would be a sadness to not realize like, oh, I like other things too. Also, if we're talking from a purely like, did I make it or did I move back home and like become a, I don't know, accountant? That's one thing. Like if you give up on your dreams and you're like, I'm going to go do something that I hate. I say accountant, but I'm sure there are very happy accountants. I'm just using that as like an example.
We don't support them here though.
No, we don't.
But anti-math.
What I do believe is that life is long. It really is. And we will wear many hats in our lifetime. Two, if it is true that you still want that thing you thought you wanted at 19, you should keep going.
Absolutely.
But I think what we don't talk enough about is that actually, and this is to like go through open doors, sometimes those open doors actually will lead you closer to that thing you wanted originally. I mean, I joined SAG not because I was an actor.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard to be an actor. How do I, nothing.
Yep.
Then I did cakes, and a couple years into cake making, guess what started to happen? Hey, do you as a personality want to do this commercial? It's a SAG project. Sure, I have to join SAG. Great. Do you want to audition for this voiceover role? Sure. Great. And it's like truly like I've never been closer to acting, although I'm not close to it because I'm just not really pursuing it right now. But if it was something, there was a fire in me that's like, I really want to try that thing that I thought I wanted to do when I was a kid, I would do it. I would be like, we're going to go back to acting. We're going to try to do acting again. But it's interesting how those open doors have gotten me closer to that goal. And I also think, and this is a very important point, and maybe I think living in LA has taught me this. You see a lot of people who got to the top of the mountain. And a lot of those people don't like what they see. And a lot of those people jump off of the mountain, actually.
Yeah.
So that's a good lesson. That's
a very good lesson.
You don't really like, I just kind of think it's like wherever you go, there you are. And it's like, if you're a depressed, miserable person, you're going to be that if you're mega famous or if you're not. And if you're a happy person who loves life and loves doing things, loves trying new things, you will be happy where you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I think that is so incredibly important because it's like you said, wherever you go, there you are. You bring yourself wherever you're going. And if you are expecting some sort of external factor to kind of make you fulfilled or whole or healthy or anything like that, it's like, it's not going to work. It has to come from within to a certain extent. And then it's like, there are, look, everything we're saying has caveats where it's like, you know, I remember years ago there was a famous study that was basically just like the level of the change in happiness between making $5,000 a year and $50,000 a year was like exponential. And you know, again, this was probably like 15 years ago, so who knows what those numbers are now? But it's like the difference between making $50,000 a year and $1 million a year is like negligible. And so it's like basically like once you reach a certain level of your needs being met, anything you're piling on top of that is like is just diminishing returns. You know,
that's
and so
but the other point about this book that I just need to say, sorry,
this is what let's bring
that
it back.
Steve Martin describes a panic attack that he had, and a crippling, like really affected his life, like a lot of his life. And I was reading this book, and I had never in my life, I remember it so vividly. I was in the break room at Universal Studios Hollywood in my hot outfit that we had to wear, long pants on a hot summer day or whatever. I'm reading it, and he's describing a panic attack. And he's talking about going to see this movie, the producers at a movie theater on Sunset Boulevard. And he has a panic attack. And he, for years, couldn't go see movies in theaters. 10 years, he didn't see a movie.
Whoa.
He couldn't, like, all of the things that led up to that, he was like, I'm going to try my best not to, like, be in that position. Basically, like, this feeling of if something is, and this is what really stuck with me. When something good was happening in his life, because his life was starting to get good, he was like self-sabotaging and having these panic attacks. And I'm reading this and I'm like, oh my God, that is the thing I do. And I felt crazy all throughout college. I was having these crazy panic attacks. And they're not even, the way other people would describe panic attacks didn't even resonate with me. And for the first time I read him describing his panic attack and what it did to his life. And I was like, when I tell you, it was the best therapy for me because something clicked in me and I was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And then I was fine. And he explains how he was fine. And also, I mean, I still obviously have highs and lows, but like, it was a really interesting thing. Highly recommend this book to anybody who like has any sort of like self-sabotage, panic attack. And it's just a small section in the book, but you can tell it's like a crucial part of his life.
Yeah.
Him putting it in writing, back to like the Frederick Douglass thing of like, once you write something down, it's real and it's, you know, you've said it and you've made something of it. Him just having it in writing and seeing that somebody else was going through this made it real for me and made me feel like I can breathe. And I always think of like, especially at this time, I thought like celebrities, like they live these like polished, perfect lives.
The fabulous lives of celebrity, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And no, like it's so interesting to see like someone famous and at the top of their game and at the top of the mountain struggling. That was a weird thing for me.
Feeling seen by reading something is so powerful. And in so many different aspects, but especially in that aspect of like any sort of physical health or mental health thing you're going through, seeing someone else like describing it is like, it's like stumbling around in the woods and then like hearing someone's voice, you know, or if you're like lost and like hearing that there's someone else out here with you is like so reassuring. So,
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But what is your third and final book? I hate to rush through, but we're gonna, you know.
The third book is The Heart's Invisible Furies.
Okay.
It is a historical fiction. Takes place in Ireland. And it is about this guy. It's by John Boyne, who did, I think I'm saying his name right, John Boyne, who did Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which I haven't read.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's his like famous one.
Okay, gotcha.
This book she's thick. And I read it. It was one of those like vacation books.
Okay, yeah.
Like I read it. I devoured it. It was so, it was just such a special book. And it's one of the more recent books I've read. And it's just a masterpiece. And it's about this guy. We basically check in on him every 7 years throughout his life, from age 0, when he's like, it starts with his mom being pregnant, to like when he dies at like 80 or something.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
Sorry. He's gay. He is gay. They sound like, do you know that? I am gay.
Andrew Cuomo.
No. Isn't it?
That's when he's
like gay Joe Exotic. I'm gay. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm gay. Or no. It's I don't know.
I don't know what's happening.
It's like in Joe Exotic's like campaign video. He's like, I am gay. It's like he's crazy. Anyway, I just heard it in my head. Sorry. He's a gay man living in Ireland in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Okay. So like, and I didn't realize this, like Ireland, very conservative in that way. And very anti-gay until legally until recently. And he's also in love with like his best friend throughout his life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I mean, the book is just so sweeping. It's hard to talk about it because it's like 600 some pages and it takes place over like decades.
Yeah.
And normally I don't like, I normally like moments in time. Like when I watch a movie, I'm like, let's just keep it small.
Keep it looking at I'm kind of in the same way. Like I've always said like I love the infinities that are captured within a moment. Was how I used to put it when I was trying to sound cool.
Yeah, it does sound cool.
But there is I do think that I love stories that do that, but there is something about like someone just carving off 100 years or 80 years or something like that and being like, I'm going to capture this. To wrap their arms around that much time is like, one, intimidating to me as a writer, intimidating. But it also just like lets you, like books let you live in that kind of space in a way that other media don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
totally.
But yeah, I wasn't familiar with this book.
So a friend had recommended it. I think it's like medium popular, right? Like,
it's medium popular. Okay.
Like it's not one of these everyone knows about, but some people do.
Okay.
The protagonist is a guy named Cyril, Syril, which is not a name I say ever.
Okay.
And he is for me, so likable. I just love him. Like from the beginning, I'm like, oh, I love this guy. He's funny, but without intending to be, and he's thoughtful, and he's aware of his faults, but he's not like self-deprecating in a way that becomes annoying. Fabulous character. And that I think is why I'm interested in seeing him in all the stages of his life. The really interesting thing just structurally about this book is that every 7 years, right as we're approaching the end of that chunk, something monumental is about to happen. Whether it's a car crash or it's a more like something he's dealing with in his mind or whatever. And then what happens, and I've never read a book like this, you jump ahead, it cuts off right before the action. Then you jump ahead 7 years and you go right into that world and you find out what happened in the past, but not through flashback, not through like any sort of retelling. Just you get clues.
Just through the context.
It's so fascinating.
That's really interesting. Well, it's an interesting parallel too, because it's like going back to Frederick Douglass of just like cutting out this like monumental thing. And then jumping ahead in the narrative. That's interesting that both of those have that. But it's cool when a book does that. Of just kind of dropping you in and being like, we're not going to talk about the plot. Because I mean, that's how fucking real life is. You know, it's like whatever, pivotal moments happened in your life. You're not going around saying, wow, this is like that time that blah, blah, blah happened. You know, this is like that time that, I showed my friends how like what a chode ratio is, you just find it out through context.
It's just there.
It's there, but it's like those events are informing your behavior. And they've shaped the course of your life in ways that were in your control and not in your control. And that's really exciting because I love it when books do that.
Or like a crystal ball. You ever think about like if you could like time travel?
All the time.
Like then you'd have to know if you go 10 years in the future, you got to kind of piece together the parts. How'd I get here?
I always like time travel like stresses me out. Like anytime I start to think about it, because I start to think about all of the all the shit that like people get really into on like Reddit, of just like, well, if you did this,
but
yeah. So for this book, it's every 7 years.
I think it's every 7 years. Yes, my memory is that it's every 7 years. It's about 7 years.
Okay, and then how long are we spending with him before it jumps again?
A long time.
Okay.
I mean, this is a big old book.
It's a big,
I don't like a big old book. They intimidate me. But it was a good big old book.
Where did you read this on vacation?
So I read it on vacation's a strong term for what I did. My friends and I went on this trip to Joshua Tree.
Oh yeah.
And we left our phones at home. We were like, we kind of all were feeling like we need to like go away for a while.
Wow.
So I read a lot of it on that trip.
Tell me more about that.
It was great. Highly recommend.
When was
we didn't leave them at home. Sorry, we didn't leave the phones at home. We left them in the trunk of the car, and we didn't touch them all weekend.
Okay. that's still amazing. But I was like, man, that's like, we're going to go on a road trip without phones. So
And I
like,
wasn't craving it. It was so nice.
Wow.
It was so nice.
Hmm.
It was a friend who also did NELP. So she was used to not, like, we kind of wanted to like recreate a little mini version of that.
Yeah. Oh, that man.
And I
want to NELP.
I know, it was nice.
Sounds
it
fun.
was it was a really and I am like someone who like I love my phone, but I recommend it. You should do it with Matilda.
Yeah, no, we should.
That's great.
Yeah, that sounds, man.
So I read it, and then I think this was recently. We did a couple little weekend trips like that, and I just kept bringing it. And
cool.
I did it over the like 3 of those.
What sort of book are you normally bringing on vacation? If this is,
I love a memoir.
A memoir.
So the 2 other books, like this is the only work of fiction, but I love a memoir.
Okay.
But I'm getting more into fiction right now. When I was younger, and reading felt more like a chore, I hated fiction because I was like, this didn't fucking happen. Why do I care? Which is such a shitty way of viewing things.
Well, it goes back to how you were saying you looked at education.
Yeah.
Of just like this means to an end.
Yeah.
Of just like, why am I going to spend all this time reading about people that never lived?
Yeah.
Like, where's the use case out of this?
Yeah.
You know?
Also, I mean, this is a different topic for a different day, but I also don't really think there is fiction. Like, fiction isn't really a thing. I mean, of course, it literally exists.
Oh,
but like,
man. In the bottom of the 9th. Okay. You're dropping what? Okay. Let's speak on that.
I think we are... Even if we're making things, even if we are pulling things from thin air, this is a little woo-woo.
No,
here.
let's go.
Even if we were pulling things from thin air, which I don't think we really pull things from thin air.
Okay.
Quite frankly. It's almost always something.
Huh.
It's something.
Well, it's interesting you say that because when I sit down to write, I used to do this. I don't do this as much. Well, I just don't write as much as I used to. But when I was working on a novel and whenever I would sit down, I would try to write 1,000 words a day. And I would get up at like 5:30, 6 a.m., try to write 1,000 words, go to work at Try Guys. That was like, that was my life. And before I would start, I would like almost do this like prayer where I would say like, may the story that already exists find its way onto this page.
Wow.
Through these hands.
Okay, so that's woo-woo.
Very
so
woo-woo.
I feel okay.
Very woo-woo. But like, it's like, there's something fun and mystical about believing that, that stories already exist somewhere. And that like, we are just kind of the conduits that like tap into them. It's like the idea that like Star Wars always existed and that George Lucas was just the one who like captured that idea. Like, do I have any evidence to back that up? I mean, what would that evidence even look like? Right. You know what I mean? But like, it's a cool way to think about it and a cool way to look at it.
I just think storytelling is, of course, fiction is, of course, real. There is something called fiction and it exists.
Yeah.
But I also don't believe that a true story and a work of fiction have less truth to them.
Well, yeah, it's also just like, what even is a true story? Because it's like, my version of you getting your face nearly blown off, which if you want to hear that story, check out the Patreon.
Right, you got it.
Is going to differ in some ways, and it did differ in some ways, not in ways that contradicted each other, but just in like, I have context that you don't, and you have context that I didn't.
Yeah,
because it was your face that nearly got blown off.
Yeah,
I think about like history, and I think about how much of a mystery it actually all is, of just like, we think that, Alexander the Great totally existed. It's like, there's not really that many sources that talk about him, and it's like, so I just think everything in history, you need to just kind of have like a little bit of an asterisk of like, okay, well, this is the story about the events, but like the events themselves could have been different, especially because this brings in the whole thing of like, the winners write the history books, et cetera, et cetera. But
the winners write the history books,
and that's obviously a whole discussion. But you know what is real?
What
is this book that I got you?
What?
So I have a little book for you.
God.
And
I love the beautiful paper wrapping with the twine.
oh, thank you. Thank you. So it's become kind of a running joke where I forget to intro at the beginning that like, hey, I'm going to give you a book.
Yeah.
Stick around to see them open it. And I forgot to do that again. But it doesn't matter. We're
Stick
here
around.
now. Stick around. We could do some time traveling, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, this is a book that I picked up and was like, I think Johnny would like this. So if you wanna give it let her rip it open.
I love it. Beautiful wrap job.
No, thank you.
I needed twine the other day. I
Oh,
was cooking a chicken. Is this twine?
It sure is.
I was cooking a chicken and I needed to.
Oh, I don't think you want to use that on the chicken. It's going to shed so bad.
Yeah,
You're going to have little twine hairs all over it. But I don't know if you've read this book before. Have you?
No.
Okay.
But I have a story about this.
Really? Okay, so it's A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole.
This is kind of like weirdly perfect.
Is it?
I was in 8th grade and I decided I was going to do a book report on this book. And guess what? I didn't read it.
Oh.
And I did an entire book report without having read it. And this was like
This is
Spark Notes.
Whoa. Where did you get this source? Did you just make it up?
Cobbling together things I could find on Google.
Incredible.
This is so full circle because I've always wanted to read it, but I don't have a copy of it.
That's amazing. So I was
Thank you so
at the Iliad bookstore here in LA, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, I think I'm going to get this one for Johnny. And it's also hilariously has a bunch of notes that
I love it.
a former owner of the book, but they like gave up. Shelby McKenna, shout out Shelby.
Shout out to Shelby McKenna.
Shelby McKenna made it through about 50 pages and like left some really hilarious notes where it just says annoying prick. There's another one that says,
This is crazy.
I think it said like mama's boy.
Wait, I love other people's thoughts on books.
So for the first 50 pages, you're going to get a lot of them.
And then she kind of,
and then I guess she just fell off. So
wait, I love her. Ignatius equals crazy. All right, spoiler.
Facts. But yeah, no, I read this book years ago.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It has such a like unique, unforgettable cast of characters, and it's also set in New Orleans, which I know.
It's my favorite.
I know you're a fan of the city of New Orleans. So,
I love this. Thank you. What a fabulous gift. Thank you.
You are most welcome, and thank you for being here.
It
on
was a
Shoulda
joy.
Books.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything to plug? Where can the people find you? Come on, plug something, Johnny.
They all know, right? Like
they might
just
not.
like
Who knows?
Just like scroll long enough on TikTok till you get to the dark underbelly where things are cake, and you'll find me. No, I mean you can follow me at the Jonny Cakes.
There we go.
But do I have anything to plug?
I don't
know.
know.
Shoulda Books Patreon.
Hey, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing I want to plug is don't like if there's propane or gasoline involved in something, just keep your head away.
Yeah, just keep your head away.
There's someone talking to us.
Yeah. What?
You open it?
What?
I think someone's trying to leave your house and he's asking the delivery man.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Sorry, he's like talking to me. I'm sorry to derail that. I think he's got it now.
Johnny, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to everyone watching and listening. Thank you for watching and listening. And as always, keep reading.